Hey Reddit.
What's the most supernatural experience you've ever had?
We have less than 1,000 subscribers. Get us to 1,000 for more daily content.
My remote once jumped off the TV by itself, the old school box type of television, when I was watching with my girlfriend. Didn't fall or slide off. We actually saw it take a leap as if somebody threw it. We both just sat there being really confused before even questioning it out loud.
I get real freaked out at little unexplained shiz like that. I honestly would have found it hard to sleep that night if it happened to me.
In the early 90s, my friend and I had a radio show at our college station. Back then, we used these things called carts. They looked like a cassette tape, and an 8-track had a baby. We kept meaning to play this one by Janis Joplin and kept getting distracted and playing something else instead. Near the end of the show, the cart jumped off the shelf where we had put it. Like you, it did not fall or slide off. It was too heavy for it to have been knocked off by a breeze. There was no breeze in that tiny studio anyway. It literally jumped off and landed in front of us. We played Janis immediately and for every show thereafter.
I used to do pest control. Went to a customer's business for the first time. As I walked in the office, I noticed some pictures that were supposed to be hanging on the wall were on the ground, and then saw some papers which looked like they had been thrown and scattered off a desk. I picked everything up so I could apply treatment to the floorboards and surrounding rooms. I then went to treat the only restroom in the office. I simply knocked on the door as a courtesy, as I always do before entering any restroom. There was no reply, for nobody was in there, so I went and applied treatment to the restroom, and I closed the door behind me. As I walked away from the door, I know I heard somebody grab the door handle, twist it open and open the door. I turned around and looked to see nobody behind me but a door swinging open. The hair on my neck instantly stood up, and I put 2 and 2 together. I grabbed my shiz and ran downstairs. The receptionist saw me and started laughing. She asked me if I had met their little friend upstairs.
It was a ghost. She told me she hears it walking around upstairs every day, and they can't keep things on the walls or people's desk. They simply got used to it.
When I was 16, an Uncle Dad's brother passed unexpectedly. Weeks later, I had a dream about him, and he told me to quit smoking cigarettes. It was way more involved, but it's been 20+ years, so I don't remember the rest. A month or so later, I mentioned the dream to my parents, and my dad started crying. Got up and walked away. Apparently he dreamed of talking to his brother too. And he'd told my dad that uncle needed to talk to me.
This happened to me, too. My grandpa died when I was 7. At some point I had a dream where he visited me. He said he was okay. That he was at peace. He told me he loved me and that he loved my grandma. And that I should tell her so. When I woke up and told her, she cried, saying she had the same dream. I still get goosebumps.
You just reminded me of something that I think kind of makes me uncomfortable. My father passed away unexpectedly about 2.5 years ago. I had a dream a couple months after he died that he called me. Which kind of transitioned to me opening my front door and seeing him on my porch. We chatted for a bit, and at one point I pointed out that he wasn't alive anymore and asked him if he was okay. I remember him looking almost regretful and saying he wasn't. I started getting upset and told him he was always a good man. And he just said something to the effect of, "I could have been better." That's the last I recall of it. Definitely a bittersweet dream, because while it was good revisiting him in my mind in such a way, the last part was distressing. I actually prefer to believe the whole thing was purely the work of my subconscious.
I've posted about this before. But when I was about 9 years old, 1995, in the middle of a bright summer day, I went to the refrigerator to get a popsicle. Suddenly a roughly teenage-looking guy, with long brown hair, wearing a beige turtleneck and red plaid bell-bottoms, turned around the corner into the hallway to my left, then vanished from toe to head as I looked at him. Told no one about it for years. Until after my mother mentioned meeting the now-grown kids who lived in the house before us, who asked her if she'd seen the bell-bottom ghost.
There's something sweet and non-terrifying about a ghost in red plaid bell-bottoms. It's like, yeah, we call him Greg. He's our bell-bottom ghost from the 1970s.
Removed.
What if that was your mom and the one that came back was the imposter?
Did you live near your mom's sister or other similar relative? What if they come over to tell you your mom was going to be delayed? Your dog thought it was your mom because the voice did sound the same. However, it was confused when they smelled a different person. Then it never came up because they heard you talking to your mom on the phone.
My best friend's dad, who was a second father to me, came to me in a dream and told me to tell my best friend that he loved her and that he was sorry. I woke up to my cell phone ringing to find it was my best friend, absolutely hysterical, telling me that he finally passed away from sclerosis. I sobbed all day. He was a drunk our whole lives, but it still hurt.
Wow. This is hard. I know it is. Because it's happened to me too. My grandpa came to tell he loves me. And asked me to be strong at his funeral. Because my dad will be completely broken. I never told dad. Because he just won't accept a possibility of anything beyond the ordinary mundane life. More recently, husband's aunt visited me in a vivid dream, giving me instructions on how to crochet a toy for her future grandkid. When I woke up, it was Mill calling that Annie had passed that night. I will be making that toy now. The baby is due this month.
Did you tell your friend about the dream?
About a year ago, my coworker and I went to get coffee at a new coffee shop that opened up by our work. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety over my future. Anyway, while in line there was a woman in front of me. She was giving her order when she stopped mid-sentence and looks behind her to see me. She turns back around, gives the barista her order. After I give my order, she comes up to me and, "Hey. I know this is going to sound weird. But do you know a man named Jim?" Her words took me off guard because Jim was my grandpa. He died of cancer. He didn't live in the same state as I did, so I doubt he and this woman would have ever met him. I told her yes, he was my grandpa, and she told me that he wanted me to know that I needed to stop worrying because everything was going to be okay. Kami crying in the middle of the coffee store in front of my bewildered coworker and a couple of strangers.
I hope you're doing better now. Life is too precious to let anxiety control us.
So did you have any other interaction with this medium woman at all? Like, did you ask, "How did you know that?" Or did she react to you starting to cry? It's crazy to me that these stories have no follow-up or conclusion, because I would have started asking this person a bunch of questions. And even if you were too overcome, it seems super weird that this woman would make a stranger cry in a store and then just finish ordering and leave without saying anything.
When I was 15, I woke up in the middle of the night and saw this strange spotlight appear on my wall. It was a circle made up of a bunch of bright circular dots within it. It came on strong, then rotated 90 degrees and then turned off. It was so surreal because the light was extremely bright and yet it was also focused on that one spot on my wall. When I woke up the next morning, I couldn't get the image out of my head. But I just assumed I must have dreamed it. My sister and I were talking over breakfast. And she said, "I had this dream last night. My entire room suddenly lit up with these circular dots floating around my room." I got really excited. That actually happened. I woke up and saw it too. My sister froze. How is that possible? My blinds are completely shut. Chills. To this day.
Something similar happened to me. My room was upstairs with a back door to the roof patio. The door had a little window and there were other tall houses around it, so it was pretty hard for any kind of light to properly enter from that window at night. Anyway, I remember randomly waking up. No reason, no loud sounds, nothing, but I remember this hard, very red bright light entering from the direction of the window of the door. Like if someone was pointing at me with those pen laser, but it was like 100x bigger. While I was half asleep, it didn't make sense. The light was so up to the wall. I had a bunk bed. The light spot was a little more up than my bunk bed against the wall and didn't have the same angle as the window. To this day, I think the light came from inside my room, from the wall where the patio door was. Not from outside. It didn't happen again. I remember I just went back to sleep thinking it was the lights from a plane passing by. When I woke, realized it didn't make sense.